Fuckface, we're doing it again, baby. It is Friday, October the 14th, 2022. Deuces up and down. What's going on, gang? Hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much. Glad you made it. It's another social production. Thank you for joining me. If you're a long-time viewer and listener, thank you for all the love and support. If you're just joining me today, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube for the full-length videos. Check out patreon.com/RobSadri if you'd like to fiscally support this show. We have fun. We talk about everything and nothing under the sun. We get silly with it. We tickle each other's membranes from afar, from a near. And then we just bounce back and do it again every day, every week. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 365, 24/7, 7-Eleven, 24 to 48 hours. We're all there together doing it all day, every day is what I'm trying to tell you. And I hope you're all doing well. Thank you again for all the love and support. Let's have some fun. Let's get silly with it. Man, today is Loose Friday. I feel loose today. You feel loose today, Daddy? Feel loose, Mommy? It's good to be loose, but let's tighten up a little. Let's keep it tight as well. It's a fine mix of tight and loose. Delicioso. Man, oh man, ladies and gents, what do we want to talk about today? Many of things, many of different things that are related, things that aren't related, things that are concerning you and me. And that's right. And they're never gonna hold us down, baby. They're never gonna keep us down. Who's they? No one. And that's what it is, baby. No one can keep us down. No one can, because we're always up in the sky, flying, flapping our wings. Oh, we're just a bunch of birds today, aren't we? Soaring high, that's what it is, baby. Keep on flapping them wings. Man, oh man. But let's try to get focused. Let's try to concentrate if we can together. And I guess, let's see. Let's start with this. Silence is violence. Silence is violence. Words are violence. So we got silence is violence. Words are also violence. And violence is what then? If silence is violence and if words are also violence, then what's violence? Man, oh man, violence. Maybe it's just entertainment. Some say it's entertainment because we've come to see so much of it televised on a regular that we become numb to it. Desynthesized, some may say. But of course, some may be wrong, but some may be right. I don't know. What do you guys and gals think out there? But yeah, silence is violence. Words are violence. And violence is just what it is, apparently. Or maybe it's not. I don't even know. But that's the thing. I don't even know what I'm talking about, man. But let's try to see if we can get a little bit closer, an inch closer to what you say. A little bit of clarity. Can we get some Claritin up in this bitch? Please and thank you. Bring that Visine for that 2020 vision. Son, man, oh man. I've been hearing a little bit of a story that's been going around for some time now. I think it's come to some sort of I don't even know what it is, come to a point. There has been decisions made. There have been, conclusions that have been reached. And I'm talking about, let's get right into it. I guess I'm talking about the Alex Jones and Sandy Hook story a little bit. I don't know too much about it, to be very honest with you. Again, sitting here in Toronto in Canada, I don't know too much about Alex Jones, and I don't know too much about Sandy Hooks, but I've seen Alex Jones several times. I don't know much about him. I've done very little research because that's what we do around here, baby. Very little research because this is, after all, just for shits and giggles, fun and entertainment. You know what I'm talking about? But Alex Jones, from my understanding, from my very shallow understanding of the matter, is a public persona. Can we say that? He's a public persona. On his wiki page, if you look up Alex Jones, it says alt-right or far-right public persona. And I don't know, is that to his own? Did he write that? Does he designate that to himself, or is that like designated? Who is it designated by? Because it's interesting when you look at certain, but anyway, I don't know too much about that. I've seen him once maybe on the JRE, and I've seen him maybe once on Flagrant. Shout out to Schultzy and the gang doing it. Very entertaining guy, I'll tell you that. He's entertaining. Alex Jones is entertaining. I think he's got his own show. Either it's a radio show or a podcast of sorts. I don't know. He's been in the game for some time. He's not new to the game. He's been in the game. And he talks about different issues and topics as far as I know. I don't know too much about him, but that's my understanding. He's a opinionated fella, and he's got theories on stuff. And yeah, as of late, I just heard this several times in the past little while. Never really paid too much attention to it. Yeah, Alex Jones, Sandy Hook's trial, on, again, being in Canada, being far away from it all, not knowing too much about it. It was just like, okay, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, as of late, I hear or see or read Alex Jones is to pay roughly $1 billion in damages to the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook school shooting, if I'm not mistaken. That's apparently, so this is my understanding of it. A school shooting happened, or a shooting happened. Again, very minimal amounts of information here. Shooting happened, people died, and it was a real thing. And Alex Jones, I guess public persona, made a theory that said that this was apparently a staged operation or false flag operation. And he said something along the lines of, and again, I may be wrong, I may be right, I have no idea, said something along the lines that staged events like this, or maybe that one in particular, is used to implement more gun control laws. And that's that's what I've seen. That's as much as I know about the whole thing. And apparently this theory caused, I guess, trauma, or it led to some of Alex Jones's followers or listeners, I don't know, to go out there and either get online and harass the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting, or some of them apparently had to move homes, relocate, and what have you for safety, which is, yeah, it's a whole thing. And that's as much as I know. And I guess this is interesting to me. It should be a little bit interesting to you guys and gals out there, because at the end of the day, what I see is, again, I don't know Alex Jones. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not trying to defend the man. I'm not trying to diminish him in any shape or form, because I don't know the fight. I've seen him several times, and he seems entertaining. I'll tell you that. That's what I see him as an entertainer. But that's just me. And again, I've never, I've not checked out his podcast. I've not sat down to watch his pure, to be able to give you an assessment and be like, yes, this, based on many of assessments that I've conducted and many of the episodes that I've seen, this is my understanding. Very, very limited understanding of what Alex Jones is. To me, he definitely seems like the type of fella that'll stir the pot. He's a pot stirrer. But then again, that's kind of all of media in a sense, you could say. And I say that knowing my position in the media, then as little as it is, but that's the thing, you start somewhere, and it doesn't matter, we all do have rippling effects and what have you, so it just makes me think about many things. Freedom of speech comes to mind, that's one thing, and its implications, because we're at a peculiar time, gang. We're in a peculiar circumstance. A lot of tech has been introduced into our lives. It's been implemented into our lives for better or worse. I think in the end, everything works out for the best. I'm a true optimist. I'm a realist, but an optimist, and a glass half full mentality up in this bitch all day, every day. So my whole understanding of the situation is that, again, very basic understanding. Somebody said something, that somebody being Alex Jones. Others heard something, interpreted in a particular manner, and went out there and did particular things that put others in harm. That sums it up for me. That's my basic understanding of the matter. So now he was sued, and I guess he is, again, on the tabloids, on the news articles, on the videos, you'll hear a number of 1 billion, which sounds astronomical. It's a huge sum. Is that the largest sum anyone's ever been sued for? I'm not, any individual at least, maybe corporations have been sued for more, which is also interesting. We'll get into it. This opens up conversation, and really any story in the news media is just really it's the story, isn't it? It's not even the thing itself. It's a story that gives us an opportunity to talk about the matter at hand, because it's not just about that one particular event. And people are, from what I gather, from what I see, this is attracted a lot of attention, but also it stirred up a lot of emotion in people. People are really emotional about the subject and it's tricky, and I get it as much as I get it, as much as I try to understand it anyway. Because yeah, it brings into question a lot of things like freedom of speech and what are the implications of that. Do we have freedom of speech? Should we practice freedom? I think we do. I think we should try to practice it as much as, and these are all just my thoughts coming out and me speaking out loud, really. I don't really have any answer. I mostly got questions that led me to, just like many things these days, you think you kind of have an understanding of something, but as soon as you get close to maybe a little bit of clarity, then you're faced with a opposing point of view, or which is good, but it does, I notice right now we're living in a very, again, I've said this before, but we're living in oscillated times. We're living in a time of constant cognitive dissonance in whichever way imaginable, whether it's concerning the small things or the big things. Every little thing, you're like, man, okay, at least I know I'll do this thing. Man, if I just do this thing, this particular way, I can feel assured in my heart of hearts that I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing a good thing. Yeah, or whatever it may be, right? And then 2 days later, you're hit with this like perspective that's the exact opposite. You're like, oh man, I thought I had this thing figured out. So okay, now I gotta do things the opposite way. Or at least it causes, even if you don't go out and do the opposite thing, at least it causes some concern or again cognitive dissonance in your mind, because you're like, man, it leads to more confusion. And that's, I guess, a portion of today's topics, many topics, like I said, we're going to be talking about today. I think this is very important because I think it's now in the future. This is, well, man, there's so many things that just thoughts in the head. Let's try to get as many of them out as possible, and we'll see if we can organize it together with your help out there. I feel like the future is kind of, again, it's a battle of ideologies, and I think one of the ideologies that is being battled right now is the battle of centralization versus decentralization, and that goes about everything, whether it's ideas, whether it's governance, whether it's people interacting with each other and how much agency you have over your own body, over your own thoughts, over your own actions. These are all topics that are more or less related, and it's interesting to think about because, yeah, it made me think of what is all of this? What is all of this? What is the, there's the story, you read the headline, you figure out as much as you can about it, and with many people being so busy these days doing so many things, the message that the public views or sees, or the I guess rhetoric that's put out there is in a sense that people have to be careful of what they say. That's one of the underlying, or that people have to monitor their language, or somebody has to monitor your language for you, because questions of free speech come along and people are like, myself, if somebody asks, if I got, let's, just for the sake of today's conversation, because I feel like for the extra looseness, we need to be in a setting that is perhaps not of human creation, if that makes any sense. So let us use our imagination and get sucked into, let's pretend for today that we've gotten sucked into a spaceship, and that we are to objectively give a analysis of what are some of the events that are unraveling in today's human society as a whole. Because that makes it a little bit more objective. I want us, myself included, to try to remove myself from the situation as much as possible so that I'm not on any sides as much as possible, and I try to do that as best as my ability lets me. Try to remain unbiased, try to stay consistent, and have the same energy. Keep that same energy, baby. That's on everything, as many things as possible. And I'm also a hypocrite because I do fall short many a times. But that's the thing. This is all a process, isn't it? This whole human experience is a journey, isn't it? There's no, from my understanding, again, I don't think there's no stagnation of anything. Everything's constantly changing. But with that all being said, this pops out into the news media outlets. They blast it, they talk about it sometimes, and yeah, you see an image or a wording or a phrase that depicts $1 billion, and that's the sum total of his lawsuit, if I'm not mistaken, and he is to pay the family members of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting X amount of dollars. That's a huge sum. And the message that this sends, again, and I've read a couple of news articles on varying newspapers. I read an article in The Guardian, I read an article on the Associated Press, and both these articles and kind of it leads to questions. It leads to questions because the articles that I read were kind of depicting that, we need to have a monitoring system of speech or language or content online. Censorship, essentially. A lot of the underlying tones, or sometimes they were overt, sometimes they were covert, I'll tell you that, but it was leaning, the articles written were mostly leaning towards censorship or some sort of monitoring of content and I guess ideas and thoughts in whatever shape or form they may be in. And we have that going on right now in Canada, as I've mentioned in a previous video. I believe there's a bill going on around, Bill C-11 if I'm not mistaken, and again, my understanding of the whole situation is very shallow, I would say. There are definitely people who have dedicated way more time than I have to these subject matters, but from my understanding is that it's essentially laws or bills that want to be put into place that'll implement thought control, essentially, or speech control. And this is just one aspect. We're in a peculiar time right now. I'm trying to just figure out what, and I think we all are. We're trying to figure it out and see what the best route is for navigating these new waters, because it's new water, baby. This is some fresh water in terms of technology. We got some fresh water in terms of new, I guess, rules of conduct. New waters, baby. We're wet, and it's like, what is this substance? Is it water? It's definitely moist, but it's not the same old water, because the same old water did not exist on an online world prior to, let's say, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. But now it's become so much of a part of our lives that we're like, is it even separable from daily interactions and the physical world? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. The point is, fam, that let us remain concentrated, okay? Okay? Silly gals, silly boys. This is interesting because I don't know. Here's the thing. Here's a many of things. So somebody says something, a group of individuals interpret it and react to it. And isn't that all of us with all sorts of information? You hear or you see information, or you're interacting with others and you see things and you react. Not that you should be in a reactionary mode, that's no bueno, but then it is kind of the way we conduct ourselves based on actions and reactions and what have you. So it leads us to questions like, what is free speech? Do we get to practice free speech online? Can anybody say anything online? Should they be allowed to say anything online? Or what about the physical world? Can you say anything you want in the physical world when you're not online? What about concerns of, I guess, there's the freedom of speech, and here's the thing, because it gets both pushed and pulled, because in a sense you'll hear discussions or ideas being perpetuated out there, such as monitoring your work, monitoring you at work. I want to see you stroke out at work, baby. I want to see how you stroke them keys at work, big boy, big guy. How you stroke them keys at work. I want to see how many keys you be stroking all day, every day, because I want to know what you're up to. I want to know what you're visiting on them computers at work. I want to know what you're doing on your time at work, on our time, because you're on our dime, Mr. or Sister. You're on our dime, bucko. So I want you to be working. I want you to be working hard. All right. This is all I want. I don't want to be hearing no silence, because remember, silence is violence, and words are also violence. And yes, all day, and I want to see you. Are you visiting naughty websites? Are you visiting extracurricular websites? Like maybe you finished work early. Are you checking out a cabin that you want to rent out for the weekend? Not on my watch, mister. Here we're only about the business. I don't care if you finished up the work. I don't care if you finished the work and you want to just look at a couple of dresses that you might want to be buying your beautiful gal to surprise her for her birthday that happens to be lucky for you on Valentine's Day, which is a rare event. If you can find that, that's a keeper, because like that's 2-in-1 in terms of gifts, and that's love, but on a budget. But that's aside the point, man. What I'm trying to tell you is that monitoring and surveillance and security is on one hand being pushed in a sense that we need more cameras in public spaces. Oh, we need more cameras in workspaces. We need more overall surveillance of information. We need to know who's saying what, who's thinking what, who's doing what at all times. There's that aspect of it. But there's also the aspect of that transparency only being awarded to, I guess, the individuals or groups that are in charge, i.e. the companies, the corporations, and the managerial section of the society, or I guess maybe in a sense, even if you were to extrapolate, make that bigger, the elite, because it doesn't allow the individuals like me, you, or smaller folks out there, whether they're doing independent work or collaborative work, to go out there and actually do things without repercussions in terms of being suppressed or being repressed. And I don't even know if that made any sense, but let's try to make sense of it. Because what I'm trying to say is that how is it that corporations and the media outlets get away with a lot of things on a daily? And do we keep that same energy when it comes to individuals and corporations? And should we even keep that same energy? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. So if you're saying an individual says something, particular people hear it and react to it, who is held responsible? And what's the problem? Is it the words that's the problem? Is it the utterance of the words? Or is the problem the reaction of the words? Or reaction rather to the words? So therefore, like, should we be holding an individual? So if an author writes a book, is the author responsible for writing the book and putting in the author is responsible for writing the book. So when an author writes a book, is he or she responsible for the words that have many causes and reactions depending on the individuals consuming them? I mean, you read something, this is again related with, you read any text, many of us read a text, and if it's like open interpretation, you're like, well, I see it this way, or you'll see it that way, and oh, did you notice this thing? Oh, I didn't even notice that thing. And so that's about the book. What about music? What about music? Are we gonna, do we keep that same energy when it comes to music? Because do we say artists can't talk about different subjects because it might promote particular thoughts for individuals? And what does that say about how individuals are viewed in society? You know what I mean? Does that mean that because the tone that it's setting off in the articles that you read, you might notice that it's portraying an image of society as a whole or individuals as kind of I guess gullible or susceptible to information. But it is true, and it isn't, but that's the thing, despite the fact that it's true, I don't know if it's right for, again, a big brother sort of situation to come in, or big governance to come in and be like, because for your own protection, for your own sake, because you're stupid, you dumb fuck, is essentially what they're telling us. Oh, you're too dumb to make your own decisions, or you're not going to be able to decipher what's happening. You're going to be, let us take care of it. You don't need to hear everything. You don't need to think about everything. Let us think for you. Let us tell you what is good. Let us tell you what is bad, because essentially you're not capable of making informed decisions for yourself. So it takes away the responsibility of the individuals, from the way I see it at least, because that's the thing. Anybody could say anything, but how you react to it is completely dependent on you. And that's like, you could say anything and anybody could get offended. And again, is it that the person's being offensive, or are you choosing to get offended? And even if you do get offended, is that, that's your right. You should be able to get offended. But again, it's your reaction, how you react to it. You could take offense, you could say I'm offended, or you could say, oh man, I'm offended through my actions by maybe getting on, like, it's, people do cray things all the time, all day, every day. But it's tricky, man. It is tricky. I don't have the answers. It led me to get more confused, as per usual. But I'm hoping that we can come to some sort of, I guess, an inch closer to some sort of clarity. Because at the end of the day, truth matters to society. I know that for a lot of people, like, knowing what's true is important, for myself included. But at the same rate, we do live in a world that our truth is a lot of times crazier than fiction. And it's not like we haven't had events in history that have been depicted in a particular manner, and then later on we were finding out that, oh, the way it was depicted was actually false. So it's not like we don't have precedent of that either. There have been many events where, particularly in the initial stage of it happening, people were like, yes, this is the way it went down, but like, i.e. the JFK assassination is right in the beginning. I guess people were like, oh, it was just like one shooter, one guy, and then later, as we've come to know, there's definitely, and again, not that there's much clarity on that either, but it just seems like there are many hands at play, whether it be the CIA, whether it's the involvement of the mob, maybe a combination of both, maybe random individuals working with the CIA, working with the mob, or any other clandestine units out there. So there's so many things. There's that. There's the 9/11 attacks that happened that are, initially it's just depicted as, oh, terrorists. Clear drawn line between good guys, bad guys. And yeah, later on you go and find out, again, not that you come to a certain clarity, but you do realize that there's many levels and many layers to this stinky onion out there, isn't it? Because you're like, oh man, them terrorists, and then you're like, well, where did terrorists come from? Who funded the, who funds Al Qaeda? Who creates terrorist organizations? And then you're like, oh man, oh, whoa. And then all of a sudden you're pointing fingers, and the finger's pointing right back at you, and it's like weird, or something. And again, these are just thoughts that are just coming out of my mouth in real time, doing it big. So that's the thing. And those are just two prime examples. I can't at the moment think of any other ones that are clear, but there's definitely events that have happened that leave you questioning what is the truth. And are we allowed to question? That is significant. Are we allowed to question, or is that going to be suppressed or repressed? And is that, where does that lead to? Is that a bueno world to be living in, or is that a not so bueno world to be living in? Are there any places in the world currently right now in 2022 heading into 2023 that are doing things differently? Because here in the West, for the most part, we believe in the truth, we believe in freedom of speech and trying to preserve those rights as much as possible. But there's definitely places on this planet right now that do the exact opposite of that. The exact opposite. So if we're yinging, they're yanging hard, dude. If we're yinging, they're yanging hard. You're like, where? The Iran is a prime example right now. We're yanging hard. Right there, yanging hard. North Korea, yanging hard. Places like that where it's authoritative in terms of how the government works, in terms of how speech works, in terms of how everyday personal conducts take place. So with that being said, when you have two examples, I know they're far away, it's hard to, but you could imagine now, the beauty of today and using technology is that you get to kind of see what it's like in other places. You can just open up your phone and search anything, and you get, oh, right there I'm in Kiev, or right there I'm in Moscow. I get to see somebody doing something, and I kind of have an idea what's going on the ground. So it's not like before that we don't get access to information. So what is the answer? And I don't even know. If we're sucked into this spaceship alien, they're asking us questions, give me blurt out facts, as many facts as you think are factual. That's as many points, as many theories, because that's what a lot of things are, theories, aren't they, until they're proven right or wrong. So, but what is that? That's the thing. I find it, and it's like, and it goes back to people put up arguments of putting in regulations and rules and monitoring, but that's a very slippery slope. That's a very slippery slope in my book, because there is evidence of that going down a very dictatorial path, and that there's clear evidence of that happening right now on this planet. So if somebody, again, alien sucks me up or sucks you up, maybe we're both sucked up, baby. Time to get, oh man, they're doing a whole rectal exam on everybody. Oh man, it's going down. But hey, for science, for their science, I don't know, man. How do we get there? Point is that we're trying to be objective. We're trying to look at things from as removed from but then again, we're not removed, because we're knee deep in the situation, aren't we? It's important, isn't it? It is to me. I believe it is to you guys and gals out there as well. But let's try to get silly with it. We're in a spaceship. Let's try to argue for it. Let's try to see it from the perspective of who would benefit from more censorship? Who would benefit from more rules and regulations? If I were to guess who would benefit from more rules, regulations, and censorship, I would again be like, yo, to the aliens, my new homies, I'd be like, I think Corporations would benefit from more censorship. I think the traditional classical news media outlets would definitely benefit from censorship because, again, it just gives monopoly on speech and thought. So we got corporations who benefit, we got the media who benefits, and we also have, I guess, the government benefiting because you get rid of any opposition through suppressing ideas. And those three groups or individuals may be benefiting. So let's argue from, so if let's say I'm a big corporation today. I just got up and, okay, let's step away from the alien. We don't need the alien and the alien spaceship, but it was a fun little idea to try to remove ourselves from the subject at hand and look at it objectively because it's emotional. You're like, oh man, if those are, man, oh, beautiful, man, beautiful blue jays all day, every day, dude. Shout out to the birdsees. They distract me. What's up? What do you know about birds that have blue fucking mohawks? Anywho, see, this is what happens when you live right beside beautiful birdsees, man. I'm a big corporation. You're a big corporation. You're the biggest corporation. I'm a filthy corporation. I'm trying to get into I'm a filthy corporation. I'm a disgusting big corporation. That not only do I own large newspapers. I'm a dirty boy. I own large newspapers, and I also happen to be in manufacturing goods and services. And not only do I provide you with information, I also produce goods and services. I'm that guy today, right now, in this moment. So, oh man, and I need to sell transparency that will work for me, i.e. giving me access into your daily lives while distancing myself from that same transparency as much as possible. Let's try to implement that together if we can. Okay. So I want at your shift, I'm a big corporate guy. I'm a big corporate guy. Oh man, I'm so corporate, dude. You don't even know the levels of corporation that I incorporate into this incorporation, doggy. When I get incorporated, fam, when it's clock in, clock out time. I was working, let me give you a little bit of backstory about this corporation. I was working from my dad's I remember working in my dad's testicle. That's the type of fella or lady that becomes a corporation. Working in my dad's testicles amongst millions of other sperm. One magical night, lodged into my mother's womb. Ooh, that's a lot of room, I said, as a sperm. And, I was distracting the other sperm. I'm like, oh, look at all the room. While floating, swimming, backstrokes, dude. Backstrokes to that egg. I lodged myself in that egg and I napped for about 9 months. But while napping, I was working because that's the thing. When the time came, I wasn't the type that's gonna be like, oh, I decide what time it is. Give an old kick right to the belly. Oh, put mom in the hospital, that kick. Did it, that's what I did, dude. Kick mom's in the belly. The doctor's like, let's do a C-section. I'm like, let's do it. Cuts the stomach open. I'm grabbing onto his hairy forearms. Reach, and that's what it is, because I'm ready to work. As soon as I wiped myself off, I threw the old towel in his face. I'm like, cut that umbilical cord. Go ahead. Hands me a bottle of scotch, gives me a little towel, I'm biting, no teeth, shot of scotch, biting, umbilical cord off. Then I'm like, sweet. Then they're like, at one point there was a circumcision sesh. I don't know if it happened right then and there, maybe several weeks after, which I was not down for. That's another time for another story, okay? Point is, because I was concentrated on working. And as soon as I started work, I started incorporating and getting into corporations. And we built this city on rock and roll, baby. We built it all together, and and I decided I'm going to control the news and also be in charge of services and goods. And if anybody should get in my way, I'll be like, oh no, don't get in my way. And in order to keep it that way so that people don't get in my way, I want everybody to be working for me, i.e. eliminating all sorts of competition by getting cheap labor outsourced. And then that's a whole nother problem that is not for me, because I'm incorporated, baby. I'm a corporation. Can't touch this, fam. What you know about corporations? Can't touch this. What's up? That's what it is. Cheap labor. I make goods and services. and I'm watching these people work with cameras. CCTV, baby, all day, every day. Bathroom breaks. You only get half a bathroom break. You get to choose liquids or solids. We can't be having multiple bathroom breaks, one for liquids, one for solids. You do halfsies, half liquid, half solid. If you can incorporate it both into one and just exert that energy, because I need you back to the floor right there. Work it. Snap. Snap to it. Let's go. Let's go. I'm a big corporation. I'm so good at this. I'm a big corporate man. I'm a giant building of a corporation. Oh man, I'm so corporate. Anyway, dude, with all this corporate and there's phone calls in the midst of all this, dude, I'm faxing, I'm emailing, and I'm phone calling, dude. I'm faxing myself, emailing, receiving giving phone calls, receiving phone calls, dude. At one point, duct tape phones, dude. So, cause that's the thing, and that's how I got these massive arms, dude, in the 80s and 90s, cause those phones were the days of corporate men with corporate phones. Hello, corporate. Thank you. You know what I'm talking about? Those, like, yeah, those big giant Nokia cell phones where you're like, I'm not only am I conducting business, but I'm also fucking putting in a set or two. You feel me? Cause I'm big corporate daddy over here, flexing on y'all bitches. You feel me? But that's me killing it at corporate. And what was I trying to say, man? We're just getting lost in the corporate world right now. And that's how it is, man. The hustle and bustle of it all gets to you real quick. You gotta take time for yourself. What about that me time? None of that for you. I want to be watching you stroke them keys. Strokey, stroke, stroke. And what kind of websites are you visiting? And it's not even about the websites, dude. Lady, I want to see you working at all times. Every ounce of your human existence, I want to be able to milk it and juice it and commodify it and sell it for dollar amounts. Because if I'm paying for you, you should be paying me if you're working at my place. Because that's the roof over that, the phone that you're using to make those phone calls. The computer that is provided for you to send those emails that are for my company, you should be paying me to be making phone calls, to be making emails, to be having that roof. Because you see this cubicle without any roofs, I'll dismantle the cubicle system altogether. We'll do an open concept. Push come to shove, it'll be everybody watching everybody and at all times reporting on everything and everyone. Push comes to shove, baby, because I'm big corporate daddy and I want everything under control. I'm a big control freak. Oh, whoosh, cracking a whip, whoosh, cracking, whoosh, cracking, whoosh, double whip, whoosh, cross whip, whoosh, cross side, whoosh, whipping hard, whip it good, whoosh, whip it hard, whoosh, whip it tight, whoosh, whoosh. Good times. Fuck, I'm so good at whoosh, whipping it. But the point is, so there's a demand, there's a push, there's a sense of benefit being pushed, not for the employer, but rather they're trying to portray it as if this surveillance, this monitoring is actually beneficial for you, the employee, because after all, look at all the benefits it gives you. When you come in, I want you to be, we're going to give you an iPad, we're going to give you a fancy little iPad, and I want you to be putting in data after data, as much as data as you can, put it in that iPad. If a person walks in to the local selling place of whatever you're selling, are you taking names? Are you asking for last names? Are you asking for a phone call? Are you asking for an email? Are you asking for a backup phone call? Are you asking for a backup email? Did you get to find out their middle name? Do they have a pet? Do they have a wife? Do they have kids? Do they have all of these? Do they have none of these? I want everything written out, typed into the store, so that we can have customer retention and get to know your customers. Because a good seller of goods and so gets to know the customer, and I want to know in and out of everybody. I want to know how pink is it really inside. It's real pink, you say. Glad to hear that. Good stuff. We're all on the same page. But that's the thing. And I want to be coming down and be like, hey man, did you if you're working for this corporation on Monday, we're going to be making phone calls. Hour after hour. I want to phone calls, dude. I want to see pagers going off with phone calls and fax machines and pigeon carriers and tubes with messages. I just want to see information go back and forth. And if you're not there, working on the clock, on my clock, if you think you can just like yawn for a second or like walk over to the coffee machine? Are you being productive enough? Because I don't think you're being productive enough there. All right? And if you think that you could just get up and because there'll be thousands of more lined up to work and you're easily replaceable. So the point is that working conditions are demanding more work and transparency and more optimal usage of humans and trying to squeeze more dollars out of those good people. And this is the part that, here's the thing, I'm not going to get into the part that it twists my titties because I'm big corporate. I'm not going to because I can't get into twisty titty mode because twisty titty mode is the employer. I'm twisting the titties right now, baby. Yeah, so I want to see keystrokes. I want to monitor what websites you visit, and I want to know how much work you're actually doing. Because that's the thing. If I can put everything into nice little stats, and if I notice that, oh, are you making all those phone calls? Did you call 2 times? Did you call back when they didn't pick up? Did you send an email? Did you follow up? Did you follow up after that? And if this kind of pattern continues, big boy, you're not going to be hitting those targets. All right? And I don't care how much it takes. You're going to get, and the targets that we have this month are to be surpassed next month. And the targets that are going to be reached next month are to be surpassed by the following month after that and the next year. If you're coming in here thinking you're going to set the same targets, well, God, you haven't learned a goddamn thing, have you? Bigger targets, better targets, wider targets, taller targets. It's all about targets. It's all about targets. Point is, a lot of push for that kind of surveillance. And then there's also the security factor of it all. We must know, we must see everything, we must record everything. And that's interesting because I say that knowing full well that I've, through the past 2 years, been recording quite a bit of myself and putting a lot of myself out there, which is definitely something I'm somewhat aware of and have stepped into, somewhat knowing what I'm getting myself into. There's definitely pros and cons of everything, but yes, I do believe there's going to be an incorporation of technology into our lives on a deep level. But I think we should still have a lot of say in terms of where we can opt in and opt out. And yeah, I don't know how it feels for employers to be pushed in a direction where they have to log in onto computers all the time, where they have to be every little thing. And that's fine, but like your activity being monitored, that is really creepy in my head, because it leads to a more, how do we just optimize humans more? And it just becomes this cold-hearted work environment or society where everybody's just numbers and every little thing is just crunched down to its tiniest little portions, and it becomes a sequence of zeros and ones, and the minute a portion of that large sequence is out of place, oh, we're gonna nip it in the bud because we just want uniform. And I don't know if that makes any sense. There's that aspect of it, so that there is governance, there is surveillance from up top, and then there's the aspect of it from the individual aspect of society, where it's like, okay, what about the individual's rights to express themselves, to talk about anything they want to, have ideas and thoughts? And yeah, where does that, because in the workplace, let's say you're working, you're not allowed to talk about certain things, you're not allowed to express yourself in particular settings. What about your own time? Where can you do that? Can you do it at home? Can you do it online? And to what extent are you to be held accountable for your actions? Is our words violence? This is what we need to, I guess, or is it the interpretation? Is it again, that takes a lot of responsibility, because that's the thing, when it came down to it, when all of this, I'm like, didn't they have access to the IP addresses of the individuals who were sending those? Because it's not like Alex was attacking the families of the victims of Sandy Hook, from my understanding, right? He said that this was potentially a false flag or something, and then people heard that and interpreted it in a way that they should take it upon themselves to go out there and do certain things. It's a tricky little thing, but here's the thing, because we say, and I believe this myself, I don't think you should use, it's a tool, it is a tool, I don't think you should incite violence. But at the same rate, how do we keep the same energy for then corporate? Because if an individual, like, I can't say go out there and, take out the Cookie Monster. That's, or maybe like I just did take out the Cookie Monster. But if somebody were to like take that and be like, oh, I want to go out there and take out the Cookie Monster today, am I gonna be held accountable for the Cookie Monster being taken out? You know what I mean? Because that's weird. Because I'm just talking. And that, what about the individual's responsibility? And you're like, yeah, we gotta control, because you can't say things like take out the Cookie Monster. Okay, then what about movies then? What about Hollywood? All the movies that are always glorifying war, glorifying horror, glorifying murder, rape, all sorts of topics that is completely acceptable because it's depicted in a nice manner with a lot of money and budgets behind it that, again, are hand in hand with businesses and corporations and individuals in high places that all gather together, not so much in the terms of like in a sense that they're cooperating together. They have similar motives or similar things to gain, I guess, which it comes down to kind of control. Because yeah, it's okay if like nobody would say, you wouldn't, you wouldn't watch a Quentin Tarantino movie and be like, oh, that's a beautiful one. Man, I'm a fan of Quentin Tarantino movies, right? So I'm like, I would watch that, and there's a lot of violence in those movies, but I'm not gonna go and do anything violent, right? But somebody else might. But are we to then be like, oh, well, you can't produce any more Quentin Tarantino movies because it provides you with violence? What about video games? What about video games? A whole lot like Grand Theft Auto is a prime example. The whole concept of the game is about a character. You choose a player, you get a character, and you go out there and you do the most horrible things. You're shooting, you're killing, you're engaging in all sorts of illicit activities, but that's a game. Do we hold the manufacturers of the game responsible for the actions of, let's say, a child that gets up and does something cray-cray in society? What about music? Growing up, I still do, I love rap music, but growing up there was a ton of rap music. Rap in its essence has got a lot of violence in it. But, a lot of people listen to it and don't do anything violent, but somebody might hear a song and be like, oh man, well, I'm gonna take it upon myself and interpret this thing in a particular manner and go out there and do a horrible thing. So what is it, what about, yeah, so how's it that we're holding an individual accountable for his words, but we don't keep that same energy for the same depiction just on larger scale? So if you have millions of dollars in budget and you go and create this beautiful movie, and it's a beautiful movie about war, and there's emotions and there's side, and essentially either the overt message or the underlying or the covert message might be like, oh, sometimes violence is justified, and or action movies, they're not even about like wars, but it kind of always is. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy. So yeah, are people to, so what are we saying? Are we saying that people are, again, like, is that the message, that we are incapable of making our own decisions when we're faced with media? And not to say that we're not susceptible, not to say that, but why don't we do we keep that same energy when it comes to, and that's the thing, it gets tricky because all of a sudden people just decide somebody, like, what is misinformation? What is like, isn't all information kind of misinformation? Because you're never getting, unless you're there in real time viewing something and actually understanding the matter for yourself, are you ever getting actual 100% pure information? You know what I mean? It's always a depiction of the facts. It's always somebody's understanding of it and then retelling it to us. So it's like a re-representation. It's not even a representation, it's a re-representation of the actual facts, or events rather. So it's a tricky little thing, and I think overall and I think the story about Alex Jones is kind of one of those the big stories that make headlines and get into the zeitgeist, I think are there to, I guess, engage the public or bring about a conversation. I think this is, yeah, I'm a absolute proponent of free speech. Like, when it comes to free speech, I'm an absolutist. I do believe that. I don't think you can, I think this is just to send like a message, like a general message to people, which is I don't know how I feel about it, because like, are there dumb ideas out there? 100%. I have dumb ideas myself all the time. So with that being said, are we to just, how does it, but what about the news? What about the news media outlets when they're just being done blatantly or just putting in bad information? Are we just to, do we keep that same energy over and over with, what's a good example of, what about all the, again, we see a prime example of this is how large manufacturers of drugs, pharmaceutical companies, large pharmaceutical companies, how they have definitely bought a good portion of again, the traditional classic mainstream media, which is no longer really kind of mainstream, so it's not right to even call it mainstream, because it's definitely, things are shaking up. What about them always coming in and saying, oh, you need to wear a mask, you need to get a shot, because if you wear a mask, you're not going to be able to transmit diseases. If you get that shot, there's no way you're going to be able to pass that virus on. And people got the shot, people got 2 shots, 3 shots, the booster, and they still got sick and they still passed it on. Is that misinformation? Who's going to be held accountable? If we are to look at one person, be like, one person caused $1 billion worth of damages, what is the sum total of damages caused by the misinformation put out there by large news media outlets, who maybe initially in the beginning, I think it was maybe all of us could be like, okay, in the beginning we didn't know, we should close it down, sure, but how long did it stay after? Was it even, you know what I mean? So these are the things that when power gets abused, we should all be paying attention to. And I think it's interesting to talk about this. Again, I'm not here to defend Alex Jones. I don't know Alex Jones. I'll tell you this, if I had a chance to sit down with Alex Jones, or anybody else for that, because I love people, or anybody else for that matter, have a glass of beer with them or just chit chat about anything and nothing, I'd hang out with people. But unless they do something, like, that's the thing. I draw the line with individuals who, if you go out there, I think if you kill, if you murder, if you rape, those are blatantly wrong things. And the individuals doing those things should be held accountable for their actions. But mere words being the source of penalization seems to me a slippery slope. And when it comes to governing and policing language, we should be very careful, because it is happening right now in our world where there are places that take that, and it doesn't start off maybe with a completely, it doesn't, it takes a little bit of time, but it's not impossible for things to go into the dark ages as they have in some places. You know what I mean? It's not a far-fetched idea. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So, and especially, it's tricky, man, but that's the thing. I think, if somebody, even if you're anonymous online, if you're posting something, isn't there an IP address that's connected to computers and digital, whether it's phones, iPads, computers? So even if they're anonymous, are they really anonymous? So that kind of gets, and it brings in the question of, are we being monitored all day, every day, all the time? Pretty much. That's the way I kind of see our world. That's why I choose to go online and put a lot of myself out there, knowing that a lot of my life, a lot of our time is going to be monitored, but at least to a certain extent, I still have a little bit of agency in terms of when I do it, how I do it, where I do it. And I don't know it's a tricky thing, but I would always rather, because of the prime examples of how horribly wrong things could go, I would always be very cautious of anybody coming in and saying, yes, we need to have regulations or rules on censorship. Because if you do, here's the thing, you're never going to get, anytime anything becomes censored, quote unquote, it never goes away. Censorship only means it's going to go somewhere else, whether it's going to be online somewhere else or underground somewhere else, and that's not good. I think it's better that everybody speaks, get every idea out there, and I think through hearing better and better ideas will rise to the top. And we're never, and here's the thing too, I think we're fixated by the idea of wanting perfection, and life is not perfect, and I think we're always going to have people doing crazy things. I think we're always going to have, unfortunately, people who really take free speech to abuse it and maybe use it as legitimate hate speech, because there is legitimate hate speech. Let's not you know, again, I'm trying to be as objective as possible, so I'm not trying to say that, but again, it's taking, not allowing people to speak their mind or express themselves, I think leads to thoughts and ideas being simply pressed aside and us pretending like it doesn't exist. And I think it comes to manifest its head in different times, in different forms. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this matter. It's a very interesting thing to see unravel, and I've been hearing so much about it from afar, not really reading into it or anything, and then finally I saw that $1 billion verdict that was handed out, and just like, oh man, this feels like such a little bit of it again. If I can get sucked, let's get sucked into a spaceship. Let's get silly and cray with the ideas for a second. Let's get conspiratorial for a second, if we can, if we may. And what is a conspiracy? What is it when people conspire? Is it not just people getting together and deciding on a certain number of actions, or one action, or however many actions that they're going to conduct in a particular manner? People conspiring. People get together and decide to do things. That's conspiring. That when people get together, have a meeting, we're going to do this, and it could be as small as a family getting together, that we're going to get together and go here for a vacation. You're conspiring. You're working together. You're talking out. But it's got this negative connotation these days, unfortunately, because I believe it. Here's the thing. I think a lot of times we are, man, what I'm trying to say is that, let's get the thoughts together for a second. Let's have a sip of coffee. When I see certain things pop up in society, I question everything. I try to, as much as possible, because it's fun for me. And when I see certain things in society pop up, when it's a movement or a reaction, I do always question it. I do always question it. Because I think the governments, the intelligence gathering companies out there already have an understanding of the fact that we will always have chaos in society. I don't think that intelligence services are unaware or naive to the fact that humans are unique individuals, and there's always things happening that are not going to be controlled. So I think knowing that, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities for the likes of the CIA or any other clandestine unit to create a organized chaos, if that makes any sense. I'm going to try to clarify that as best as my ability. We're getting conspiratorial today, baby. It's fun. It's Friday. We're having fun. We're just kicking it, but it's just you and me just chit-chatting. Nothing, just bunch of silly gooses just chit-chatting after all. I would say, yeah, it would be knowing the fact that there's going to be chaos no matter what in society. I think it would be, and this is probably up for debate, maybe they would think, if I were a secret intelligence agency, if I knew there's going to be chaos, I would probably wait for chaos to maybe not cause the chaos, but wait for some sort of unpredictable event to start occurring, and I would infiltrate those events, and I would probably fan the fires of those events. Maybe the event, and I guess a good portion, and this is, I guess, when movements get hijacked, and any movement is susceptible to getting hijacked. As a matter of fact, I think most movements do get hijacked. Not to say that there aren't, yeah, it's really difficult to say any of these things without putting on your little conspiracy hats just for a little bit, just to have a little bit of fun. What am I trying to say? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that when I hear something like a QAnon, I have no idea what QAnon is, but apparently it's like an online community of people saying so many different things. And I would, if I had my guess of who's behind a QAnon or something like a Q, I would say it's the CIA. If again we're in an alien ship, they're like, "What's going on with them? What is that thing?" QAnon. I'll be like, "I don't know. I think it's the CIA." That's what I would say. Or some other clandestine unit, because again, computers. Whenever you type in, some people like intelligence services or agencies already have access to all of our information. That's the thing. If you're on, phones are, again, everything from my understanding is up for grabs, or at least it has a backdoor access. Whatever you're typing in your phone and your iPad, your computer, is most likely, not that I'm saying somebody's sitting there watching you, but it's most likely accessible, to say the least, definitely accessible. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if the best system would be to have some sort of algorithm or different algorithms. I don't know how these things work, monitoring and searching, or rather hearing, picking up signals, and by signals maybe certain phrases or words, maybe in a conversation, maybe it's a recording at all times, and when in particular moments anybody says a particular word, the algorithm is getting triggered. Let's say sugar tits. Let's say, it's fine, the recording is always going on, but immediately when you say sugar tits, all of a sudden it's alerting for like, oh, maybe we should pay attention to these conversations about sugar tits, for example, if that's a thing. But what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, so, man, we talked about a lot of things. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that chaotic events in society sometimes may be controlled chaos, is what I'm trying to say, if that makes any sense. And again, looking at all of this, man, yeah, Alex Jones is I don't know, what is that? Who is Alex Jones? It's got a large following, apparently. Got a large following. I don't know. I don't know too much about him. It's an interesting situation that is unraveling and that is unraveled, and it is interesting because, yeah, all of these things go hand in hand, and it's there to be like, oh, look, your words have consequences, and at the same rate, we're trying to defend freedom. You're like, yes, freedom. See, like, freedom. See, look at that place. Oh, they're doing it. That's so again, it creates cognitive dissonance. On the one hand, we're saying we're trying to champion freedom. On the other hand, we look at suppression of freedom of speech and what that leads to, and then it's tricky, dudes, ladies. Yeah, and I don't have the answer. I don't have any answers, but it got me to think, and it's something that we should all consider when we're faced with options of opting in to whether and I don't know, how do you even, that's the thing. Do employers even have an option when an employee comes? I know when I was a young man working in the automotive sector, I know I didn't have an option when new tech was introduced into the workforce. And I saw how it interfered with my work, really. It's like it's basically having to write down everything on a computer or an iPad, or reporting the minor little details. Yes, there's definite business advantages of it, but there's definitely a feel of, oh, you're getting yourself a digital babysitter of constantly having to monitor every action that you do, which gets broken down to micro action after micro action. And just because that's the thing, when everything goes into charts and neat little boxes, it could just keep breaking down, and all of a sudden it becomes about, let's maximize this worker. You know what I mean? It's not that you come in and you have, like, let's say 5 tasks that you got to take care of. You're finished with those 5 tasks? What are you doing in between those 5 tasks? And here's the thing, man. I think that's the thing. It's tricky because there is always the notion of, oh, you should always try to do your best. And I believe that whenever I was trying to work anywhere, whether it be for a company or for myself, I try to do my best. So there's a notion that I appreciate on my own side where I want to be doing my best and getting optimal amount of usage out of my time. But yes, there is a sense that, oh, we need you on this particular set or this particular event for 12 hours or 8 hours. And you're like, man, but I can do this in like 3 to 4. But like, It's just there is a whole lot of, again, there's many ideas colliding and going back and forth with it. There's an idea of control. There's the idea of, again, what are people's worth? You know what I mean? What are people's values? What are people's ideas of worth when it comes to, because I do believe people should work and earn a living, but at the same rate, it seems like the technology that is being implemented, as much as it's depicted as a tool to help the employer or the workers or mass society at large, it seems to be at a lot of times placing more disadvantages on top of regular people, regular everyday people. But that may be just my interpretation. It may be completely off, and if that's the case, well, so be it. We took a little shoot. We shot our shit. We shoot the shit. We shot our shot. That's what it is. We shoot the shit, and you shoot your shot, and you have fun with it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video for today. I know we got into, it was a silly little topic that needed to be discussed. And did I get everything that I wanted to get out? Did I say everything that I wanted to say? Give me a quick second, because there's just a lot of things that go on with this particular discussion. Freedom of speech is this is not a new thing either. This freedom of speech conversation has been in the forefront of our conscious for some time now. I wonder if it's, I wonder which path we're going to choose. I wonder if it's, there's just, there's a lot. I'm very, when it comes to corporate media, I'm very, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I take it with a pinch of salt at all times. And if we're holding one individual like that accountable, or if we want to, what about all the late night show hosts that have been, and I don't want to mention names, because genuinely I grew up watching some of them and I liked them as a young man, growing up watching some of them, but I noticed over the past, 8 to 10 years now, how long has it been since, before Trump got into office and even during Trump and after Trump, they've just been riding Trump's dick by, oh, did you see what Trump did today? Did you see what, it's like, dude, if you don't like somebody, how do you keep on going talking about him? And so to me, it's like, sometimes I don't even view it, but I just see the headline of the video or the title, and it's just like Trump this, Trump that, and it's like trying to bash Trump, even though he's not even in office. And multiple attempts after attempt after attempt after attempt, trying to take this guy down. And again, me as an objective viewer and not knowing Trump, not really having a dog in this race, but overall looking at it, I'm like, if you don't like something or somebody, why do you keep talking about him or it or whatever the subject matter may be? Because that's the thing, it's like a closeted gay dude constantly going around oh, you know me, I don't like gays. And it's like, you keep saying that, it's like, you might be gay. Having said that, maybe the late night show hosts are gay for Trump. I think we solved it. We cracked it. One more time, Detective Rob Sadri, cracking cases, cracking eggs, making omelets, stirring it up, stirring it down. What do you guys and gals think? Do you guys think that yes, he should be paying $1 billion? I don't even that's the thing. It seems so absurd to hear some one person owing $1 billion in damages. It seems absurd. Again, I'm not, and yes, I've heard many individuals who say, oh, if that was my kid who got, and I again, I'm not a parent, I can't, but I can understand, or I can try to understand as closely as possible without not having experience of what it means to get harassed by somebody, which sucks. I don't want anybody getting harassed anywhere. That sucks. That's no bueno. But again, why is it that we're pointing to one person and saying, and I think that's the easy answer, that's the easy solution, pointing at one person, you're like, oh, if that one bad apple stops talking, we won't have chaos. And I think that's or disruption, maybe not even chaos, or I don't know if any of that makes any sense. I hope it did. I tried my best. I'm trying to see if I've left anything out that I This was a tricky little topic, and I know most of today's discussions were not, that's the thing. I sometimes try to get away from I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I hope you guys like the video. If you like the videos, if you like these videos, you can find them on Instagram. Follow me. Helps your boy out. Subscribe on YouTube because it helps your boy out. Hopefully I make you laugh. Hopefully I make you think about a certain thing differently, or maybe the same way. I do believe in agreeing to disagree. I'll say that. I believe in agreeing to disagree. I'll say that. And if you want to financially support the show, because again, is it an independent operation is what you're asking? And yes, it is an independent operation, meaning we are, one dude trying to work and hopefully working with, doing bigger things, little, not major big things, but I'm taking my time, and I'm hoping to do more. Hopefully do a little bit of, we'll see in the near future. I don't know what really holds in store because I take it day by day, but hopefully maybe collaborating, doing some work with friends. We'll see, with family, I don't know what's gonna come to fruition in the future, but overall, I gotta say I feel very lucky. I feel very blessed to be doing what I do, and I take joy in it because it makes me happy. I try to write jokes. I try to keep things silly, and at times I like to discuss different topics every day. Really, we pretty much discuss. If you're tuning in just today, we talk about everything and nothing. So one day you might come in and it's just pure dick jokes for an hour, and then next time it might not be pure dick jokes for an hour. But today, I don't think I even made one dick joke. So there you go. No dick jokes just for today. But Monday might be Dick City, dude. Nads all day, every day. Yeah, again, I hope you guys like these videos. I feel very lucky. I feel very blessed, at a good place in terms of mind, spirit, body, taking it one day at a time, hoping that all of us can get in there and just have fun and grow and learn together, if that makes any sense. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Get whatever that needs to be done. Take care of whatever needs to be done. Take care of it. Have some fun. Pick up a minor little, a little bit of fireworks if you like. Just, have some fun on the old patio / porch / cottage area / maybe, go skinny dipping. Don't go skinny dipping. Do what you would. Do what thou wilt. Do what you want to do. And rock and roll. Keep on queefing in the free world. And my throat is getting dry. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys back here again on Monday. Peace out.